Hello all, Shadwell here, ready to talk about the next film in my collection, Dark City from 1998. It's directed by Alex Proya and stars Rufus Sewell and Kiefer Sutherland. More specifically, I'm reviewing the director's cut of Dark City, which I've never seen before watching it this time for this review project. I've owned the director's cut for several years, but just haven't gotten around to watching it previously. And furthermore, I haven't seen Dark City in such a long time that I couldn't tell you what was original theatrical footage and what was added in for the director's cut. But I was curious, so I looked it up, and apparently the differences are too numerous to mention in this review. There's a lot of changes to the theatrical cut, but I guess the biggest one I can mention is that when New Line Cinema saw Alex Proya's cut of the film, they said, "Hey, why don't you add an opening monologue that explains some of what is going on?" And Alex Proya's was all, "You mean dumb it down?" And New Line Cinema was like, "You said it, not us." But yes, do that. And so he did add an opening monologue in the theatrical cut of the film, but in the director's cut, that is excised. And good on Alex Proya for removing it, because I hate that shit. And studio interference in general. Oh, and apparently the director's cut wasn't released until 2008, 10 years after the original film was released. Also, notable for my concerns is that in the director's cut, Jennifer Connelly's voice was used for the songs she sings, as that wasn't the case in the original. That much I do remember. And since we're on that point, this film is really good, but it's also really heady and confuses me a bit on some story points, but I loved it when I first saw it in 1988 in the theater because it starred Jennifer Connelly, and as I've said before, I was, and still am, a huge fan of Labyrinth, which starred her as well. Also, I was familiar with the protagonist John, played by Rufus Sewell, because he had just played the small but important part of Fortinbras in Kenneth Branagh's full adaptation of Hamlet a few years before this film. So when I first saw this film, I was mostly responding to the cast, which also included Kiefer Sutherland and the Rocky Horror Picture Show's Richard O'Brien. But this time I really responded to the noir aesthetic, which was interesting because at its heart this is a science fiction film. But the noir vibes are very strong, especially the lighting. It's very, very dark, as you can tell from the photos. It was sort of a proto-The Matrix in many ways, actually. I'm giving the sometimes confusing Dark City a B, and tomorrow, speaking of Labyrinth, it's another John Henson production, The Dark Crystal. See y'all then.